The rain had started to fall softly, each droplet blurring the edges of the world around him. Harold didn't move. He just sat there on the weathered park bench, a thin gray coat draped over his frail frame, his hat resting on his knees. His eyes, faded with time, stared at the empty swing set in front of him, the one where he used to push his little boy 40 years ago. Every afternoon at the same hour he came to this park, and every afternoon he left a little piece of his heart behind. "Sir, are you all right?" A woman's voice broke through the drizzle. Harold didn't turn immediately. He was used to people passing by without waiting for an answer. But this voice, gentle, concerned, didn't leave. Sometimes all it takes is one small act of kindness to change a life forever. If this story touched your heart, please take a moment to like this video and subscribe to our channel, because every share, every click, helps more people remember the power of compassion. He finally looked up. A woman in her early 40s stood there, holding an umbrella. She wore a dark blue raincoat, her face kind, eyes warm but cautious. "I'm fine," Harold muttered, voice rough from disuse. "Just waiting." She tilted her head slightly. "Waiting for someone?" Harold's lips trembled faintly. "My son," he whispered. "He said he'd come back someday." The woman hesitated, her heart tightening. She glanced around the park. Empty benches, wet leaves, the lonely creak of a swing. "When was that, sir?" Harold looked down at his wrinkled hands, folded tightly together. 1987. The words hung in the air like mist. She knelt beside him, balancing the umbrella over both of them. "My name's Emily," she said softly. "Maybe I can help you get home." "You'll catch cold out here." He looked at her with cloudy blue eyes. "This is home," he murmured. "It's where I still see him," running toward me laughing. "I can't leave him behind again." Emily swallowed hard. She had seen loneliness before, in her patients, in her elderly neighbors, but something about this man struck deep. She took a slow breath and sat down beside him. The bench creaked under her weight. They sat in silence for a while, watching the rain pattern the puddles. "Can you tell me about your son?" she finally asked. Harold's face softened, his eyes wandering to the swing set. His name was Peter. Smart, funny, stubborn as a mule. His mother passed when he was little. "I did my best to raise him, but I worked too much, yelled too much. One day, he packed a small bag and said he was going to live with his uncle. I thought he'd come back when he was ready, but the years kept going and I stopped knowing where he was." Emily nodded slowly. "That must have been hard." Harold smiled faintly. "You know what's strange? Even when I lost track of him, I still packed his favorite lunch every Sunday. Peanut butter sandwiches, just in case he walked through that gate again." Her throat tightened. She noticed the old paper bag beside him, soaked, flattened, but unmistakably holding a sandwich wrapped in plastic. "Mr. Harold," she said softly, "you remind me of my dad. He used to sit at the bus stop after my mom died, just waiting for someone to talk to. Sometimes all people need is someone who listens." He chuckled, a dry sound that turned into a cough. "Haven't had someone listen in a long time." Emily smiled sadly and stood. "Come on, let's get you somewhere warm. I'll make you some tea. We can talk more about Peter there." He shook his head weakly. "I don't want to bother anyone." "You wouldn't be," she said gently. "You'd be doing me a favor." "I don't like drinking tea alone." He looked at her for a long moment, searching for a reason to refuse, and found none. With effort, he rose, leaning on his cane. She held the umbrella over him, guiding him down the muddy path. The park looked different now, softer, less empty. When they reached her small car, she opened the passenger door carefully. He hesitated again, hand trembling on the handle. "You really don't have to do this," he said. "I know," she replied, "but maybe I should." The drive was quiet, except for the patter of rain against the windshield. Harold looked out the window, watching the world blur past, and for the first time in years, he didn't feel invisible. At her home, a modest one-story house with yellow curtains and the faint smell of cinnamon, she helped him inside and wrapped a blanket around his shoulders. She poured him tea in a white ceramic mug and handed him a napkin. "This place smells like kindness," Harold said softly, smiling faintly. Emily laughed quietly. That's the cinnamon. It hides the loneliness. He looked around at the framed photos on the wall. Emily with her parents, her brother, a small boy with a toy airplane. Your family? He asked. She nodded, eyes lingering on the boy's picture. My son, Oliver. He's away at college now. Calls when he remembers. Harold smiled knowingly. They all remember eventually. The clock ticked gently. Rain tapped against the window. For the first time in years, Harold felt warmth not just in his hands, but in his heart. Later that evening, when Emily called a local elder care center to ask about missing persons records, she found his name. Harold Benson, widowed. One son listed Peter Benson, address unknown. She hesitated for a moment, then searched his name online. The next day, she drove Harold to a nearby town where she had found a number. As they parked, a man in his 40s stepped out of a small repair shop. He looked puzzled at first, then pale. Dad, the man whispered. Harold's breath caught in his throat. His cane slipped as he took a step forward. Peter? The two stood frozen for a second before Peter rushed forward, wrapping his arms around his father. Harold trembled, tears spilling freely. Emily watched from the car, her eyes full of emotion. Sometimes, she thought, a stranger's kindness doesn't just change one life, it mends two. That night, as Harold sat in Peter's kitchen, the old park no longer felt like home. This did, warmth, laughter, forgiveness, and far away on that same weathered bench, the rain had finally stopped.